So I'm staring at this blank page full of hope and possibility, and I can't wait to get started. But I also can't help feeling that pit in my stomach, which comes oh so naturally when I approach a busy page like this. However, I want to show you guys today how this can be easy and stress-free colouring. So let's get into it. I'm Sarah, and this is Ink and Hue Colouring. Okay, so one of the ways that I love to approach these busy pages, if it's a one-sided book, is by using alcohol markers, and I'm using the Ohuhu alcohol markers today. I'm just starting off by basing a few elements, and this really helps me break up the page in sections and focus on one thing at a time, rather than look at the whole page and go, holy crud, how am I going to do this? So I'm just going in with a very, what would you call it, like a cool grey, because I know in my mind's eye that I can see this page being very colourful, and I think that's kind of a given with anything that's really intricate and busy, is that it's going to be colourful, because otherwise you're just going to have a very boring looking page. And so when I went into this page, rather than thinking about a specific colour palette, I was more thinking about what emotions and memories and genres were coming up in my mind as I thought about it. And for me, I was thinking a few things. There was Lord of the Rings, there was Disney, and there was like other fantastical kind of theme movies. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to use that as my inspiration rather than specific colors. And as I unpacked that brought about the colors for me without me having to try and come up with this perfect palette in one go. And especially with this door here at the center, I was reminded of Lord of the Rings a fair bit, especially in the little hobbit village. They've all, like, they've got the round doors like this. There's the stones, there's a lot of heavy woodwork, and there's gold plating. So I'm already thinking of the stonework that I'm going to do, some of the shades that I want to have, and I know that I do want to have gold in this as well. And so I'm opting for a cool grey for these stones. And I will bring in a bluish grey as well, but I want to transition from my darkest pencil colour to the colour of the alcohol marker. And I want to use the alcohol marker as a colour, but also as a foundation to set the tone of the pencils. Now, I am using Prismacolor pencils today. And I'm also going in and around the shape of the stones just to create a bit of a rounded effect, because stones are they're quite light and shady. They've got a lot of contrast, so I'm trying to bring those out a little bit. And another reason why I think it's good to have browns and greys in a page that you visualize being very colourful is so that it helps your eye focus on certain areas, and so you can break up those colourful sections. And it's just more pleasing to look at that way. And of course, which I should have mentioned at the start, we are in Mel Pomani's Dream Voyage, or as I like to say, Dream Voyage. And this is my first page that I'm tackling out of her book. So, of course, I've picked the hardest one. I don't know why I did that. I think this was just the most appealing to me because, again, when I was looking at this page and I was visualizing it, I was just getting the Lord of the Rings stuff. And another tip too, when you're deciding on how to color your page, and if you've got a certain aesthetic in mind or a certain movie or a certain scene in your mind's eye and it's not quite coming together yet, jump on Pinterest. Google, say, for example, fantastical aesthetic or Lord of the Rings aesthetic or Elven aesthetic or anything. It could even be Alice in Wonderland. It could be Willy Wonka. Anything to you that is bright and colourful. That's what you're going for, of course. At this stage, it's so funny because as I was colouring, at this stage when I was looking at the stones and I was looking at the door, I was thinking I could do a complete 180 and go like old ship or like maritime aesthetic here. So I could bring in a lot of blues and oranges and deep reds and candlelight and things like that. But I think, as you would have seen in the thumbnail, I didn't go in that direction, and I'm glad I didn't. So I like that this stone doorway is circular here because it really breaks this centerpiece off into its own section. And I'm just focusing on coloring it for now. I'm in my mind's eye, I'm thinking about, what color the flowers could be. Like, not exactly, but what kind of tone. Could they be cool flowers or warm flowers? But I'm just not focusing on that too much. I'm just trying to bring all my attention into this center part and just allowing the colors to come together. Now, I've chosen this slate grey here, and it's really coming together nicely. It goes really well with that cool grey that I've got underneath it. I believe the exact Prisma name is Blue Slate. And again, I've just come up with this combination. I didn't really research it. I just have a piece of paper next to me. Not the one that's under my hand, but I have another piece of paper where I scribble down combinations. And I also have my Prisma swatch chart in front of me that I've handmade. And I find that really helps me connect colours as well. And if you're feeling really overwhelmed with starting an intricate, busy page like this, just be rest assured that you won't have the entire imagery come to mind at once. If you do, you're a genius. I'll have what you're having. But it's just like if you're writing a piece of music. It's not often that you can come up with all the individual parts in your head at once and know how exactly it's going to fit together and then jump in and just record it all at once and it's done. It doesn't work like that. It takes hours of adding layers, writing parts, developing things, going in, trying things, redoing things, removing things, and that's what it's like with colouring too. So you certainly don't have to have all your ducks in a row at once. Just go in, look at an element that inspires you the most and start that. And then you'll be able to start building on from there. Now, one of my favourite combinations in the Prismacolor brand is these French greys. They go really well with browns, and I'm experimenting with door colours and like a golden brown because I know I want to have a lot of gold elements in here too. And this is not an exact science, so doing these intricate pages isn't an exact science. It's a feel it out situation, and you just do one section at a time. Throughout this whole thing, I've just been thinking about it. I'm adding, and I'm subconsciously looking at other areas. So, for example, I'm looking at the sky above, and I'm thinking, oh, that'd be a nice sunset. What's the main color in a sunset? Yellow. Okay, that's one big problem solved. And so basing with alcohol markers will help there too, because you can just place a block of color and then you can come in with your pencils over the top. So it helps you start to form ideas in your mind and with the imagery of what you can create. And I knew too that I wanted something really in depth. I wanted a lot of depth with the colouring. I wanted a lot of contrast. I wanted lots of different colours and hues and tones and things like that. And to get that effect, that means that I'm going in quite heavy with darker colours and also showcasing the lights as well. So I'm going pretty much like with a full spectrum of shadows and lights. So hence why I've gone so dark with those stones and why I'm going so dark with the doors in the corner is because I'm bringing out this kind of ethereal depth to the work, if that makes sense. And if it helps too, I had a reference photo of a tree in front of me. On Pinterest, I looked up fantasy aesthetic and came across these beautiful glowing trees. So I've got that in front of me on another device. And I'm copying the color distribution and also the shading and also where the light is. So yeah, it's not possible for me, especially with trees, to figure out where all the light sources can be. So if you struggle with that kind of thing, grab an image, grab a subject, grab something that you're going to draw inspiration from. All right, so far, number 1, find a focal point to start from. Number 2, focus on like a vision board or a mood board opposed to a color palette. Number 3, Start small and work your way out and trust that the process will follow you. And I think, yeah, number 5 would certainly be using alcohol markers to base if you can and if the paper will allow it, because it certainly does help because you're just laying down a block of colour and you can go over it if you're not happy with it. So you'll see in a minute that I plan to, so I've coloured this water and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of this water showing through, but you'll see that I completely colour over the top of it because I just get carried away with all the beautiful colours. And I think it does serve a purpose. It does hold the tone, and the tone of it certainly comes through the pencils. But whether or not, I could have left it out and would have known, like, that's debatable. And I knew too, at this particular point, that I wanted to try my hand in a whimsical style, like a dreamlike water where the water was different colors and I wanted to blend them. It's not something that I traditionally do. So this is my first go at it. And so I think too, circling back to that, if there's a certain element that you know will be a certain color or that you picture it in your mind's eye that way, then do that thing first and the rest will build up on that. So these are like building blocks, these pages. So I think too, I'm already starting to picture the dragons as a pinky red color. So I've got things slowly starting to form in my mind. And just so you know, this page did take me about 12 hours to complete. So please be rest assured, if you feel like you're being really slow with it, that is absolutely fine. It's better to do it that way and enjoy the process than try and get it done super quick because you've watched a video that's an hour. We've edited it down to an hour, like we edit our videos so that they're watchable and enjoyable. Because if I put up the whole thing at, real time, we'd be here for 12 hours, guys. We'd start sprouting roots like potatoes and onions. So I'm picking a variety of cool colours for this water and just blending them all together. And I do have the intention to go over those black lines with a white gel pen later on. And again, if you started a page like this and you saw the water and you were like, no idea, start with another element. Usually with my pages, I'll go from right to left, given that the obvious left-handedness that I have and the smudge issues that I clearly have because I've got paper there. On this particular instance, I've started in the middle because it's the first thing that I kind of had any idea about. So there you go. And at this point, I'm literally just approaching little element by little element. I'm just focusing on one thing at a time, one step at a time. Even though my brain is forming connections, I'm not giving that a huge amount of creative energy at this point. I'm just focusing on one element. That's where I'm putting like 80% of my energy into. And it's actually quite funny because this is my first Mel Pomeni page. Mel Chats, I'll call her Mel Chats. I can't say her full name. This is my first page and my first book of hers. So I was feeling really intimidated and very much on a creative ledge here. However, I know the results are super rewarding and it was how I felt about Kirby Roseanne's at the start too. And now I just will dive in headfirst into a Kirby page. So I know that I will really enjoy these styles eventually, as much as I'm feeling stressed at the start. The stress didn't last at all, which is why this is stress-free coloring, guys, because it doesn't have to be scary. And I think one of the other big things as well is drop your expectations of yourself. Because it won't end up like you imagine. You'll make creative decisions along the way that you couldn't possibly make in the beginning. So please don't expect that you're going to come up with, something amazing in the get-go and it's all going to be there and it's going to be wonderful and you'll have all these amazing emotions all the time. You won't. I certainly didn't. There were times that I was super frustrated or I was super over it where I felt myself rushing and I just had to remind myself to calm down. Sometimes I'd have to put on music just to chill out and that helped me enjoy the process a lot more. I think because there were some points where there was just so much to look at that I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And it's like, just focus on one thing at a time. Focus on the flowers. Focus on the flowers that are repeating. So, for example, in a book like this, on a page like this, there are about 6 different types of flowers, and it can get really overwhelming as to which one you colour. I'm just colouring the ones that there's the most of. So I think there's about 7 to 10 on this page that are all this shape. So I'm colouring them all the same. So it is very much a process of elimination as well, because not all the flowers are carbon copy, because they're all different and all the leaves are different. I'm eliminating the easy bits. I'm doing the bits that I know what colours I want first. So after I'd done the centre of the door, I knew that these flowers were going to be purple in some way. So I'm like, right, let's knock that over. So just chipping away at it. And because I knew that I wanted the dragons to be a reddy pink colour, I know that purple will go really well with that. And I know purple and brown and purple and grey go really well. So I'm making these decisions based on what I've already got on the page. And heads up, you can change your mind halfway through if you want, and that's totally fine. For example, you'll see in a minute, but I start basing the background behind these flowers in blue, and when I finish the page, it ends up being black alcohol marker. I just go over it because when I saw the finished page with the blue, I was like, don't know. So I changed it, and that's totally fine too. So again, this is a single-sided book. So hence why alcohol markers work really well. I don't have to worry about sacrificing the page behind because it does bleed through. Even though I'm using lighter alcohol markers, they do bleed through. And I do have a plastic sheet behind just to protect any transfer to the image behind it. Okay, so I'm literally going petal by petal. The colour combinations that I've chosen do have a high variance from dark to light because I want to have a lot of rich colours in here because I know everything's going to be so heavily saturated. So I'm trying to accentuate that because if I have anything too pale, it's just going to start looking a bit washed out. So I really have to be deliberate about making some bold colour choices. And one of my go-tos is a purple and pink combination for a flower. And I decided to start experimenting with adding some other colours in. So I will add an orange on top of this. Or it's more of a salmon pink, I suppose. Because I have seen it done and I wanted to try it. Because I thought, well, if I'm going to start blending my colours in a way that I haven't before, well, this is the page to do it. So, yeah. And 2, because when you look at this page, we've almost got 3 different scenes. So we've got the middle scene, which is the door with I'd call it a dream boat because it's like you're entering the scene where you're going to start your dream voyage, where you're going to get on a boat of dreams. And so you've got that in the middle. And then we've got this sunset at night. Well, I see it as a sunset. We've got the sunset at the very top. And then either side is more like the daytime. And so is the bottom with the dragons and the grass and things like that. So we've got a few different scenes. And so a key to make this all cohesive is even though you've got your 3 different scenes, try and bring some of the colours across from, say, the middle scene into the other ones. So don't just isolate one colour to one thing. Try to bring out your blues from the middle to the outside. Try to bring your purples from the flowers into the middle and also up to the top. And you'll see what I mean as we go through this video. I'm trying not to disconnect my colours. I'm trying to weave them all through like a tapestry almost. I'm trying to blend them all together harmoniously so you can see how my flowers are purple, obviously. And there was a little bit of purple in the water. So already I'm trying to connect the dots. And if you would like a video on how I colour flowers, or if you would like a video on how I blend and burnish and what my Prismacolor technique is, let me know in the comments below and I can certainly create a video for you. I do have a couple of flower tutorials, but they're in Layla Julie's book. Okay, now this is the Ohuhu marker color that I was talking about, where I've put this lovely jade green. It's like a really light green almost. And in my mind's eye, I knew that would look nice because I've seen a lot of really bright, fantastical stuff done with blue in the background, and I was loving it at the time. But when I'd finished my page, I looked at it and I was like, this just doesn't look good at all. And because the dragons frame the image and so do these flowers, I needed a bolder frame to go with the flowers and the dragon. So I will change my mind eventually, and I do have a black marker, which I will use over the top of this. Oh, too, if you guys want to purchase some Ohuhu stuff, you can get 10% off site-wide. I'll leave some details in the description below, but my code is INKHUE10, all capitals, and you can pop that in to get at the end at your cart to get 10% off. Well worth it, I reckon. So yeah, this is probably, I've only got 2 books that are single-sided, so I was taking this opportunity to use my alcohol markers while I can, just so I'm not sacrificing another page. I do have some books that there's some pages that with text, so I can use those pages behind it to colour because I don't mind sacrificing the page that just has text. Other than that, I don't use my alcohol markers a lot because, like I was saying, the pages need to be single-sided, so hence why I'm using it in this book. And I thought it was a good opportunity to practice with them as well because I haven't used them a lot. I do use them, but I'd probably use them 20% of the time, whereas I'm mainly a Prismacolor gel pen and pan pastel kind of gal. Now here we go in with the yellow because I know this is going to be a sunset and I know that the yellow is going to be the main color, and I haven't chosen my sunset gradient colors yet, but I know that I can search it and I know that I can go to Pinterest and I can find combinations that are going to work well. And so I'm just placing the color down that I know that I want there. So again, I'm just putting it all together piece by piece. And the alcohol markers dry really evenly, very streak free. There is one green that I use, it's very streaky, so I have to try and cover that up down the bottom when I do the grass. However, this particular yellow and all the other colors that I've used so far are great. So I feel like I can just go through and just whack this in, which is great. I am trying to be careful with it, and I'm trying to color it in a nice cohesive manner, but I'm not worried about streaks going everywhere. That's why I like these brush tips. This is the green I'm talking about. It's mainly under the dragons that they just get a bit there. But it's okay, I can fix it. It's probably my inexperience with markers as well. I've only just received these markers from Ohuhu. If you would like to see me review them, I do have another video up on my channel. I'll try to remember to link all the playlists and whatnot down below so you can have a look. And I know too in my head that the grass is going to be this color anyway. So again, I'm just going at one piece of the puzzle. I'm just adding in one thing at a time, worrying about the rest later. Yeah, it's a bit streaky, that one, see? But I do cover it up. And applying the alcohol markers as well in these big sections, that really helped me separate the elements on the pages, and it helped my brain just focus on one thing at a time. Okay, now starting with these very bluey purples. So this is different from the reddy purples and the pinks, which is above. So I'm starting to bring out more of the colors that are in the water. I love colouring with the purples. They're so vibrant. Even though under very intense lights, they do look waxy because the wax just reflects off the off the light. They are really nice to colour with. Oh, they're so good. And so with this purple flower, there are many, I think there's about 3 to 4 different types, but I'm literally just finding flowers that are pointy and then making them purple. Rather than having to worry about having like 10 different flower combinations, I'm just sticking with a bunch of them, say maybe like 4, because that's also going to reduce my creative or the amount of creative decisions I have to make as well. So I think if you can try and streamline the amount of decisions you have to make and just be like, okay, I've got this brown color combination here, and this is the brown combination that I'm going to use for most of these elements. And it also just helps streamline your pencil use as well, because on pages like this, you will have an absolute horde of pencils. What I did with this is I had all my Prismas in their little trays, which is how I store them anyway. I don't have a pencil case yet. And then as I used them, I put them off to the side so I could make sure that I grabbed them again, because I just wanted to check how many new colors I was using, because again, with that cohesiveness, I wanted things to look bright and spectacular. And I didn't want to bring in 50 shades of blue and different hues of yellow and things like that. So yeah, that was just my way of visually keeping track what I'd done. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a new color combination that I did not have in my little book. And I'm about to bring in that dreaded electric blue that is in the Prismacolor section that I've only used in one color combination. Now I have it in 2 color combinations in my book, so I'm very proud to have included it, because it's probably like that and the neon colors are the few pencils that I've never replaced. And so I was trying to go for a blue combination that was, again, bright, complemented the water, complemented the other flowers, and was more of a green blue. And like anything, these pages take practice, so having the ability to focus on one element at a time and not get too overwhelmed does take time. Keep having a crack at it. I know that to look at a page like this when I first started colouring, it would have been absolutely impossible. Sometimes it might just be waiting until you're in the mood for it, or waiting until you've got some experience under your belt, or waiting to get enough inspiration from channels like Ink and Hue Colouring, for example. In all seriousness, though, I would suggest watching tutorials like this from a range of channels, because you will pick up tidbits from all of us, and because we all have a different style, and if you watch different channels, you're going to pick up a whole lot of different stuff, and then you're going to develop your own style. It's going to be uniquely yours. So hence why, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And you'll see too that some of these lighter orange colours are also in those pink flowers. So again, I'm just knitting together colours from other sections on the page and just giving little hints of it. And top tip, if you're trying to create vibrant leaves, use black. It makes everything just pop out so much. It's lovely. Just as long as, you add a pretty dark color next to it because otherwise it'll be quite noticeable. So this is peacock green. And see how I've got them glued together. I'm going to have to do a video on that. How to glue your pencils together. This is grass green. So this grass green is very similar to the alcohol marker color that is in the grass. So I'm also trying to match up my Prismacolors to the Ohuhu markers as well. Again, for continuity. And finishing off these leaves with some yellow because I've got yellow in the sky. And again, I'm just going for, I think I end up having 2 leaf combinations on the whole page because there are so many different types of leaves. I think, it was 2 or maybe 3. Maybe it was 2 and then the smaller leaves, I just pulled a couple of colors from one of the combinations. At this point, I'm going, okay, if a leaf kind of looks like this one, then it's going to be this color. And if it looks like this other shape, then it's going to be that color. That's as simple as I'm trying to make it. And if you don't want to use black, if you don't like how contrasty that looks, you can go a grey colour. So you could go like a 90% cool grey or a 70% if you wanted to. There's lots of different options when you've got the Prismas. I'm sure that there's other pencil brands as well that have lots of greys to choose from. I just don't own them. So yeah, unable to advise you on that one. Okay, so this is my second leaf combination, and even though my first 2 colours are fairly muted, my midtones are quite bright, and it's just offsetting those muted tones a little bit. So when you blend them together, so I believe this was olive green, Kelly green, apple green, and pale sage, and the apple green really just blends all of those colours together really well. So I knew that I wanted a bright apple green leaf, and it complements and contrasts with the other leaf colour really well, and it goes well with the flowers and everything like that too. It's more of a yellow-green. But because we've got yellow in the sky, and I'll be bringing through sections of yellow too, I feel like it was warranted. It wasn't going to stick out too much. Yes, this is what I mean when with like a third combination, I've just started with the apple green and going lighter rather than start with the olive or the Kelly green. So this is another way to bring continuity to your page too, is to make combinations out of your combination. So like a sub combination is to pick colors that you've already used. And hence, again, that's why once I've used it, I would put it in my tray next to me because then I could sift through it and go, right, what other colors can I use that I've already used? And there are some leaves that I do leave blank because I know that I'm going to fill them in with gel pen. And this is just an automatic thing that I do. So there's certain shapes of leaves and certain sizes of leaves and flowers that I just do in gel pen automatically. So I don't even have to think about that because I just do that in every design. Part of the reason is because I really don't like colouring small little things in with pencil. It really irritates me because I can't like blend and burnish well on really tiny objects. So hence why I leave them for gel pens. And the centers of these flowers too, I know that I'm going to make those sparkly. Hence why they're blank at the minute. I tend to do all my gel pen work at the end because there's just more opportunity for smudging. And with your gel pens, because we use those as accents, we want to be able to see where all our colours are sitting because that's going to help us with the accents later on. It's a bit hard to know what to accent with if you don't know what all your main colours are going to be. So starting off with the dragon bodies here, and I'm going for a very pinky red. I think this starts, it's like Tuscan red and it ends up being blush pink or hot pink in the middle. So I'm just doing the same on either side. You could make the bellies of they're kind of like snake dragon things. I don't know what they are. I'm calling them dragons. You could make them the bellies different. I think for me, dragons are always pink or red, and I blame Shrek for this. I really do. I blame the girl dragon from Shrek. And I think there's a couple of other movies where the dragons are burgundy or something. Maybe it's Lord of the Rings or from The Hobbit. The dragon that's asleep in the coins. Maybe. I'm not quite sure, but I definitely blame Shrek for that. And I'm just colouring down the scales and down their bellies just for a bit of contouring, just to keep things looking rounded and not flat. And at this point, I'm really happy with how the sky behind the flowers is looking. I'm like, yep, made a good decision, but it's you'll see later on when things start changing, when the colors start getting super, super deep, that it's like, okay. But again, like there's nothing wrong leaving it those colors if you wanted to. It's really based on individual stylistic choices and whether or not your decisions that you make match up with what you had in your mind's eye. And sometimes they go in different directions. And yeah, it's all about your artistic interpretation. So I'm just doing the dragons in sections. And that helps too. Because I don't know if you guys find this, but sometimes I find that if there's elements that I have to colour that are too repetitive, I start getting really bored and really over it. And I start to rush and I end up feeling really tense. So where I can, I break it up. Yeah, because otherwise it just ruins it for me. Something about this particular dragon with his little horns, I think he's really cute. He's like a goat dragon. And because these dragons are such a large element to colour, they do, of course, mark off a whole huge portion of the page, which helps us in our feeling like we're achieving something feelings and also helps us make better creative decisions because we're working with less white now. And so it's getting easier to see what else can be done. Hence why just circling back to that, doing things in sections, ticking it off as you go, one step at a time, one piece of the puzzle, not trying to visualize everything in one go really helps. And if you're not sure what colors go together and you don't have like a color wheel available, the easiest thing I can suggest to do is look at Pinterest and it can help you decide colors. So you can look at photos that are very similar to what you're looking for. So you might look at like fantastical or mythical stuff or Lord of the Rings or like I was saying before, any movies that come to mind for you and their color choices can help influence your decision. One thing that I do find with intricate pages is that there's less room for, I don't want to say error with color selection, but you have a lot more choice and a lot more freedom with what you decide to go with, because anything goes, because there's so many different elements on the page and different types of things. It's like there's organization in the chaos of colors, if that makes sense. So for me, I wouldn't usually choose this broader spectrum of colors, but with this page, it really works. And it means that, yeah, you just get to go "Bleh" on the page, and it's great. So this is that dioxazine, I think that's how you say it, purple that I'm bringing out. That was in the water, that was in the flowers. Now it's going to be part of the sunset, guys. So we are what's kind of like a sunset. Yeah, I'll call it a sunset. So here it is again, popping up again. The recurring theme, a recurring motif, if you will. And what I'm doing is I'm just starting the purple off in the corners, in the very, very recessive corners, and just bringing it up. I'm not doing a circle of purple at the edge of the page or around the dragon. I'm just bringing it up at the very, very depths. And then going in with a mulberry. So straight away I'm blending purple and pink together. And you can already see that the mulberry and the alcohol marker are already creating this orange tone, which is great. And again, I'm just creeping that up and using that neon pink in the prismas. It's just creating this beautiful, like it's definitely pink, but there's just hints of orange there. And I am adding in a salmon pink just for a bit more of a transition, because the area that I have to color is so large, and because I want more pencil work to be coming through, because I've got a larger distance to cover. Hence why I'm just adding in extra colors, and I'm using a deco yellow there just to really smooth it out. And so the deco yellow and this particular Ohuhu yellow are quite similar. So if you guys would like to see me do a Ohuhu and Prismacolor combination chart, or a conversion chart, I should say, let me know. I'm going to do one for myself anyway, but if you guys want to see it, let me know and we can go through it. Because I think with Ohuhu, there's like 363 markers, and with Prismas, there's 150 colors. So we're definitely going to have more than half, which are not going to be Prismacolor pencils, but they might be in another brand. I think there's a couple of, is it Kahlua or Kahlua that have they've got like a Whopper 300 set or something like that. I'm not quite, or Kalau, I'm not quite sure. Whatever it's called. I know they're out there. Okay, so circling back. Here we go. I've said circle back a lot today. So sorry if it's a phrase that you hate. My apologies. Starting with this green combination, so I'm bringing the black in just to really deepen out. And because we are transitioning into nighttime as well, so I'm trying to enhance the shadows in this image as well. If this was fully daytime, I'd probably do less of that, but because we are transitioning into night and because we do have the sunset up at the top, I am bringing up our shadow game is ramping up quite a bit. We have entered our shadow era, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God help me. And I'm bringing through this is the same combination as I have on one of those leaves. So we've got the black, the peacock green, then the grass green. Again, just for that continuity. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to bring in any new green colors at this point, I don't think, unless it was for a very specific blending purpose almost. Yeah, because at this point, if we start bringing in another, it's just going to look a bit messy. And by this point, all my pencils are little and I'm putting all of them in my pencil extender, which annoys me because it's just an extra step I don't want to deal with. And I have left quite a bit of those dragon accents on their back of their heads and things for gel pen. And those little circles in the grass as well, that'll be glitter, but you'll see that later on. Okay, now we are basing for our gold elements. This is my go-to gold color. I really need to film a video on how to color metal. I will do that, but you can have a rough view here. I do have one Johanna Basford tutorial on how to color metal. There's like some cake stands. So that's a really good basic starting point if you just want something that's really simple to color that doesn't have a lot of bits and bobs in it like these pots do and these doors. This is a gold combination that I've just used over and over again. I really need to branch into other combinations, Sarah. I'm not looking at anyone. I just like it so much, I'm too afraid to move on. And it goes with my gold jelly roll so well. And I always think that gold just goes with bright colours so well. It's just like, it's the connector between these earthy wooden stone tones that we have and the really vibrant flowers. So it's bringing everything together. And just look at that dragon body in the top right-hand corner. Look at how ruby red that looks, and then the dark sky next to it. This is when I start looking at the sky background and going, not deep enough. I'm loving it. I don't think I've... Yeah, look, I don't want to say I've never coloured anything so vibrant. I have, but I've never coloured anything with such depth. Like, I don't think I've coloured anything that has so much black in it. And I really like it. I certainly don't think I'd be doing this every single colouring page. I certainly think that we need a break, unless colouring intricate pages is really your thing, so really detailed stuff. For me, it's not. It's a lot of brain energy. I prefer just to stick to my flowers and leaves and gel pens. Not that that's not easy. It's just, they're just elements that I'm familiar with. And so I'll stick to what I'm familiar with most of the time. But I think it's good for our brains to do the hard thing every once in a while and tackling intricate pages. So I will say too that the other benefit that I have found with doing this page is that I have come across so many new combinations and I've put them in my notebook that I don't think I would have otherwise found. So it is a great way to build up your resources as well and expand your creative limits. Because you'll never know until you try. And I think I keep saying this in my videos, and I'm talking to myself as much as everyone else. You're never going to know until you know. So just give it a go. How are you going to know that you're going to enjoy stuff like this if you don't try? How are you going to learn to color metal if you don't try and fall on your butt quite a few times like I have? How are you going to know how to balance pages with alcohol markers or how to do sunsets if you don't give it a try sometime? And by this point, I'm feeling really excited. I'm certainly not feeling stressed. I'm really loving how things are coming out, and I think at this point I just want it to end though, because I'm getting ready to move on and I'm thinking about filming and I'm thinking about all the things that I want to say. I was still enjoying it though. But I think when you can see the end, you're just like, oh, there's the finish line. Oh. It's very hard not to be like, quick. And again, on the door, those elements that are left, white gel pen. You certainly don't have to use gel pen if you want. I just like it. I love using gel pen. You could certainly do the whole lot in pencil if you wanted to. Ain't nobody gonna stop you. And I find that with colouring metal, it is just going back and forth, back and forth. You do your first lap with your colour combination, and then you do your second lap. And then maybe your fourth, and maybe your fifth, until you're happy with it. Again, you're not going to get all the colours right in the first go because you have to build it up and you have to tweak it as you go. Okay, now for these planets. And I'm having a really hard time figuring out, is this a sun? And what's that other thing? Is this the sun and the moon? I don't know. I think it is. But I'm just going to treat this like a red ball of something, like a sun. And I want it to contrast. While I want it to match with the sky, I want it to stand out as well. And then I'm just going to treat that moon looking thing as a whole nother planet. I don't know. I chuck something random in there that I quite like. Yeah, it's a sun. That'll do. And then for this moon, which I could have left as a moon color, but I was like, you know what? No. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I did something random, some purpley blue thing. And I like it because, again, I wanted to bring out the colors that I've already used. And for this little building scenario here, I'm just using the same baser as I did for the doors and with the mountains too. Same baser that I used for the stones. And let's not forget those stones down here. I could have done those when I did the archway. However, I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to go about it, so I just left it. And that's another thing too. If you don't know, leave it for now and come back to it. There's no rule book. There's nothing to say that you have to do things in a certain order. Color what you feel comfortable coloring. I'm just coming in with that darker grey French grey just to add a bit more shadow. And again for the mountains. It's debatable where the light source is coming from, but for these mountains, but I'm just shading them as to where I think, or just whatever looks good. Same with these rocks. It's debatable. I don't think you always necessarily have to have a light source coming from the same direction because I think, I don't know, in the natural world, we have light coming from a lot of different places. I know that might sound very sacrilegious for me to say that, but just with this particular image, I'm like, it's going to come from different spots. And can you see that window? I forgot. Okay, now for the whimsical gel pen extravaganza. And I don't know about you guys, but I find that my Jelly Roll metallics get a bit watery sometimes, so I have to spend extra time mixing them. Oh, and these are the Ohuhu glitter markers, which I bang on about. And I didn't know A subscriber friend of mine from YouTube sent me a photo of some stuff that she'd done, and they have a 24 pack of the Ohuhu glitter markers, which I didn't know. I thought they only had 12, and I only have the 12. And of course, I jumped on straight away and was like, shut up and take my money. So I order them straight away because I'm obsessed with the glitter markers. I use them all the time. Most of my colouring pages, I use them. So of course I ordered them. And I'm colouring up these thorns black because I plan to add the dual metallic markers over the top. And at this point, I'm still like, yeah, I'm going to leave this blue. It's going to look great. It's going to be fine. And it is fine. I mean, if you wanted to leave it at that, like, sure. It's just, I don't know. I was starting to look at some of the spots on the page that had these really nice black shadows, and I was like, I want to do that. And this, oh my God, this Posca pen. I'm getting some acrylic markers sent from Artex, and I'm really keen to try these because these Poscas are doing my head in. And this is even after I've mixed them, I've activated them, I've given them a shake, I've that they're still just driving me bonkers. So I need to do some research. I'm going to do some comparisons. I'm looking forward to the Artex. I'm getting some SimTap ones being sent to me. I'm also getting some metallic acrylic being sent to me. So I'm looking forward to having a go at those. I'm just losing my mind over this because I know Posca's really good and I don't know why I just can't get them to work. The only colour that works for me is the black and the white on the occasion. And again with this green, it's okay. It's passable. It's just watery and I can't get the control with it like I can the gel pens, which to me, I'm like, it's ridiculous. I should be able to do that because they are easy to control. There's just some colours I can't. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's not really you're not going to learn anything from that. Going back to the building. So this is I'm using a jelly roll and I'm just using an assortment of grey colours that I have here, just again to match with the archway and the cobblestones that we have and the mountains. Variation on a theme. And of course, you got to have glittery hazards. I think because I don't have a lot of greys in my gel pens, so this Ohuhu charcoal glitter was the third option I had, so I went with it. If I had a brown in a jelly roll, I probably would have used that, but because I don't, I went with glitter. I could have used metallic, but I didn't want it to take away from the other accents that I add, because I do add a lot of gold here, and I didn't want to take away from that. So I've chosen some red window furnishings, haberdashery, just to go with the dragons. And again, you might think, like, what a tiny decision, like, who cares? They're so small. But it's all about those 1% decisions adding up and creating your artwork. So I would say don't sweat the small stuff because that's good advice across the board. But do still think about those little elements. Let's not just pish posh them because the artist has drawn them in and they look nice. So let's take care of them. So coming in with some green here. I'm just picking a green that kind of suits all the greens, but it's different at the same time. And of course, was I paying attention to where my pen nib was down there? No. Does it get worse? Uh-huh. And I've just chosen these colours. I don't know why. I think because it was just always there in my head when I was looking at this door and thinking about it. I was like, I want purple and pink and teal in this door. Couldn't tell you why. I went with it and I really like it. It's almost Egyptian-y, isn't it? Like Barbie meets Egyptian. There's so many influences on this page. Oh my goodness. So this is one of the dual metallics. This is the black and red, which I really like. It's very rich and vibrant. Almost like a nice wine. I really want to use that red in a Coles on book. I'm going to do it. And making the dragons gold, because red and gold goes really nice on dragons. And just filling in these little trees as well. You could make those even darker because it's in the sunset. And I wanted some glittery water. Okay, now for a golden bridge. Who doesn't want a golden bridge? See, these are the dreams I would like to have, just golden bridges, wacky sunsets, friendly dragons. And picking some gel pen colours that, again, just accentuate the colours that are already there on the page, and I've already used that pink below in the doors. And this particular green goes well with the other colours as well. It picks up that lighter green. And at this point, I really don't know what to do with these scrubby bushes, so I just colour them in with gel pen. You could use pencil, but I think it looks nice with a metallic green. I like it. And now for these centres. And I think I knew that I wanted these flowers to be violet. When I started the page, I don't know, I just what I had in my head, so I'm like, okay, we'll go for it. Because we've got a lot of cooler tones in that little world in there. And of course, to me, I'm like, this is a dreamboat, so I just coloured it all in silver. And I think at this point, I was like, I have no idea what I want to colour this, so let's just all be silver. Because it is kind of the sailboat's sail and a face morphing together, so I just coloured the whole thing silver. And I'm outlining with a Jelly Roll pen. Now, this is the size 08, so this is a size smaller than the standard, which is a 10. And you can tell the size on the cap of the lid. There's a big number there. Hard to miss. Usually I don't opt for this pen, but that size was really good for what I needed to do there. And picking this blue colour because it matches the flower below it, and also because there was a similar one on the other side that was that colour too, and I've just given it a really good shake and it looks like it's working properly now. Guys, we are on the home stretch. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you've learnt some things. I hope that you're feeling less intimidated to tackle difficult pages, especially Kirby's and Mel Pemeni pages. Mel Pemeni, Chansapani got you. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I walk around the house practicing the name because I really want to get it right. There's other YouTubers who nail it, and I'm like, oh, guys, you're amazing. And I can never get it. I'm practicing it so much. So with this door, I'm just copying the other one. Yep, they're going to be exactly the same. Gives me a bit of a tick if they're not the same. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I put out videos like this all the time. I love documenting my progress and my thought process behind these kind of pages. I do silent color alongs as well. So I do both, but I mainly focus on these because I know that there's a lot of people that really enjoy the silent ones too. So I try and do both, but I really enjoy sitting here with you guys for an hour over a cuppa, having a chat about my thought process and really breaking it down and showing you that these pages are achievable and they can be stress-free and they can be really enjoying. They can be really enjoyable because, I don't know, I feel like they help us be better colorists. I know that certainly after I completed this page, there were so many new techniques I had learnt, new color combinations that I added to my book. I just felt a real sense of accomplishment. And so I hope that that passes on to you as well. I hope that you feel more equipped to tackle a page. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, maybe next month, who knows? But I hope that it's somewhere down the track. I hope that I've planted a seed for that moment. So, of course, finishing off with some sparkle, and let me show you this black. And there you go. There is the black. You can see that I've gone in, and I'm so glad I made that change. Look how nice it looks. Look at that. Oh, look at what we've done. So great. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope you have a lovely day and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Bye for now.